Let me call this meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is public hearing. Mr. Stoltz.
At this time, we'll call public hearing open. This is in regard to ordinance number 2013-22, which is the ordinance to amend the 2013 fiscal year budget, ordinance number 2012-06. Is there anyone here who desires to speak either for or against publicly this ordinance with respect to the amendment to the 2012-06 budget? Mayor, it appears that no one is present to speak either for or against the 2013-22 ordinance, which amends the fiscal year budget past 2012-06, and I would declare the public hearing closed at this time.
We have another public hearing, do we not?
Yes, we do. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open for the purposes of input or comments for or against ordinance number 2013-23, which is an ordinance approving the 2014 fiscal year budget. Is there anyone here that desires to speak publicly either for or against or have any comments with respect to the 2014 fiscal year budget? Mayor, it appears that no one is present to speak either for or against the 2014 fiscal year budget under ordinance number 2013-23, and we declare this public meeting closed.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. Next item, special call meeting for Monday, November 21st, 6:30 p.m. We do have a quorum here tonight. Louis Ham, would you do the invocation, please?
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for all your blessings. God, we just pray that you would just be with us as we do the meeting here, God, that you would just help us to make the right decisions. God, we just pray now that you'd bless all of our workers, God, help them throughout every day that they come to work, God, that they might be able to do it in the best of their ability, God, and look over and protect each and every one. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes of the previous council meetings. We have two council meetings, October 28, 2013, and a special call meeting of November 6, 2013. If the council's had an opportunity to review those, is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Second. Motion by Mr. Gray, second by Mr. Kistner. Okay. Any further discussion? Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Ham?
Yes.
Mr. Kistner?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Motion carried unanimous. Next item on the agenda is communication with the mayor. The mayor gets to smile and talk. Christmas parade is going to be December the 7th at 6 p.m. It's also the SEC championship football game. Wish they didn't do it that night, but doggone it, that's the night we got to do it. If you want to line up and be in the parade, please do. Most of the elected officials are going to be in it. It is a very good parade. The fire department puts it on. It's a fantastic parade. So I will be in it. My wife will drive, so the world will be safe. So, and we're putting up as we speak. Well, the sun's going down, but they're working on the Christmas tree out there. We used to have a little program each year to light the Christmas tree, which is as you come into City Hall. We're just going to turn the lights on and they're going to burn. It's going to be a nice looking tree because it got to the point that, sad to say, we didn't have anybody show up for it. couldn't get my wife to sing Jingle Bells. I asked her one day, one year, but she wouldn't do it. Next item under Mayor communications from the mayor. Harold Silcox, and Harold is out sick tonight. He came in today and he looked real bad and he went home sick. He looked bad. So he went to the doc and he went home, and hopefully he'll be back in the grind tomorrow. He and I went down and met with Senator Mullis yesterday, spent an hour and a half with him, had a very good meeting. There's some things coming down the pike that are going to be announced jointly with Senator Mullis and the mayor's office. And Lewis Ham will be involved in this too. It's the renovation of Highway 27. That's going to be an earth-shattering event. It's been worked on since this little event began taking place in the latter part of 2010. The trip was taken to West Virginia in early winter, early spring of 2011, and it's going to be a fantastic program. So I see Jeff Long is here. I talked to Jeff yesterday. I talked to Ronald Romine yesterday. We had what we thought was a pool leak. Everybody's commented on the city's beautiful pool that had a leak in it. Turned out that the company said the pipe leaked. Turned out, Jeff, the pipe didn't leak. You was right doggone it all along. I called you last night on telephone and I told you that. And so you were right all along. So you knew. And I mean, I grew up around swimming pools at Lake Wausaga. That's where I met Linda. I was a lifeguard over there. But I didn't get into what makes a pool leak or whatever. I knew you had to get the acid ring off every morning because I burnt my hand with acid. That's how I remember that so vividly. But anyway, we're sorry that there was some misunderstanding on that. I think Clay's discussed that with you. I discussed it with you over the telephone. Mr. Mullis and I discussed it, in fact, yesterday at length. We had a real good meeting. The 42 acres that were de-annexed from the city by the state legislature that's owned by Northwest Georgia Bank. And they had asked the city and the state legislature to de-annex that. Mr. Mullis and I discussed that yesterday too. I have discussed this 42 acres with Northwest Georgia Bank. When that 42 acres was de-annexed from the city, and that generates a huge potential amount of money, something like $250,000 when developed, and taxes to the city. When that was de-annexed, it was not a level playing field within the city and the county. The city was like a little island out there all by itself that didn't have Sunday alcohol sales. The citizens in this last election voted overwhelmingly to have Sunday sales, both in convenience stores, package sales, and also on-site consumption. So now then the city, the county, we're all on a level playing field. It would be great if the city could re-annex that 42 acres and put it back into the city, and the city sewer does run along that 42 acres. So Mr. Mullis and I have both spoke with Northwest Georgia Bank in reference to this, and it's hopefully everything will come together. It's a beautiful 42 acre tract. Now they're on we're on the level playing field. So Mr. Stoltz, is there anything for executive session?
Yes, sir.
Did you say yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's do it. Is there a motion going into executive session? Did you say no, sir?
Yes, sir. There is.
There is. Okay, is there a motion going into executive session?
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Council's in executive session. Is there a motion to come out of executive session?
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Kistner,
Second.
second by Mr. Gray. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Council's out of executive session. We discussed real estate and litigation in executive session. Next item on the agenda, ordinances, third and final reading, 2014 fiscal year budget. Mr. Stoltz.
Ordinance number 2013-23, ordinance to approve the 2014 fiscal year budget for the city of Fort Oglethorpe, whereas the duly elected governing authority of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia is authorized under Article 9, Section 2, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia, the official code of Georgia annotated 3635-3, and the charter of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, to adopt reasonable ordinances to protect and improve the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and whereas the duly elected governing authority of the city of Fort Oglethorpe is vested in the city council composed of a mayor and 5 council members, and whereas it is hereby ordained by the governing authority of the city of Fort Oglethorpe that the following attached shall constitute the 2014 fiscal year budget. First reading, October 28, 2013. Second reading, November 6, 2013. Third reading, November the 21st, 2013.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Ham. Any further discussion? Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Ham?
Yes.
Mr. Kistner?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Motion carried unanimous. Next item on the agenda, third and final reading, 2013 fiscal year budget ordinance number 2012-06. Mr. Stoltz.
This is ordinance number 2013-22. It's an ordinance to amend the 2013 fiscal year budget. Ordinance number 2012-06 for the city of Fort Oglethorpe, whereas the duly elected governing authority of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, is authorized under Article 9, Section 2, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia, the official code of Georgia annotated 3635-3, and the charter of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, to adopt reasonable ordinances to protect and improve the public health, safety, welfare, and aesthetics of the citizens of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and whereas the duly elected governing authority of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia is vested in the city council composed of a mayor and 5 council members, and whereas it is hereby ordained by the governing authority of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, that the following shall constitute the amended 2013 fiscal year budget. Whereas that all ordinances and parts of ordinance in conflict whereof are hereby repealed, whereas that if any part of the ordinance shall be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of the ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional, whereas that this ordinance shall take effect and after its adoption by the mayor and council. First reading, October 14, 2013. Second reading, October 28, 2013. Third reading, November 21st, 2013.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Ham. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kistner. Any further discussion? Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Ham?
Yes.
Mr. Kistner?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Motion carried unanimous. Next item on the agenda, first reading, ordinance number 2013-24. Mr. Stoltz.
This is ordinance number 2013-24. This is an ordinance to amend Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Chapter 66, signs and outdoor advertising by the mayor and city council relating to signs, to provide for the enforcement, to provide for definitions, to provide for severability, to provide an effective date, to repeal all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and for other purposes. I will not read the complete sign ordinance, which constitutes about 40 pages, but it is available in the clerk's office.
Thank you. That's the first reading. We'd only vote on the third and the final reading. Next item, first reading, ordinance 2013-25. Mr. Stoltz.
This is an ordinance, City of Fort Oglethorpe Charter Amendments, an ordinance to amend the charter for the City of Fort Oglethorpe to provide for provisions therein, to repeal conflicting provisions or parts thereof, to provide for the adoption by the citizens of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, to provide an adoption date and all other purposes allowed by law. Whereas the duly elected governing authority of the City of Fort Oglethorpe is authorized under Article 9, Section 2, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia, and under Article 9, Section 2, Paragraph 3 of the State of Georgia and the Official Code of Georgia annotated 36-5-1 et al. And the Charter of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Article 1, Section 1.13D, and Articles 7, Section 7.10, to review its charter and make reasonable clarifications and amendments, not altering the governmental structure of the City of Fort Oglethorpe Charter, so as to improve the public health, safety, welfare, and the aesthetics of the citizens of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. And whereas the duly elected governing authority of the City of Fort Oglethorpe is vested in the City Council, composed of a mayor and city council members, and it is hereby ordained by the governing authority of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, that Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia Charter is hereby amended for the purposes of clarification attached in its entirety. Section 2, if any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of the ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, this charter amendment shall take effect upon the approval by the vote of the citizens of the City of Fort Oglethorpe. First reading this 21st day of November 2013.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. Next item on the agenda, resolution ordinance 2013-12, signed ordinance moratorium continuance resolution. Mr. Stoltz.
Thank you.
This is resolution number 2013 to amend the emergency ordinance regarding the acceptance of applications for large signs. Whereas the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia encompasses several sensitive areas, and whereas the city endeavors to protect its scenic character through undertaking proper controls on development, and whereas the city regulates signage for the purpose of protecting public safety in addition to the city's aesthetic interests, whereas the city officials have become aware that there may be unconstitutional or otherwise invalid provisions in the city's sign regulations, and whereas the city seeks to maintain the status quo while it undertakes to expressly revise and readopt its sign ordinance, sign regulations if needed, and is currently holding public hearings and readings on the amended sign ordinance, and whereas the City Council seeks to prevent large signs, those measuring over 32 square feet in size, from being erected during this period of evaluation and revision of the sign regulations. Therefore, in order to maintain the status quo, the city officials expeditiously undertake the review of the sign ordinances regulations. City officials are directed to immediately stop accepting applications for permission to erect or install any sign that would be larger than 32 square feet. This is a temporary emergency measure and shall be in place only until the mayor and council have duly adopted a new and revised set of sign regulations, or until December 20th, 2013, whichever comes first. This emergency provision, having been approved by a majority of the city council, shall take effect immediately. And Mayor, for purposes of explanation, the Planning Commission last night approved the sign ordinance after a public hearing, so it's now here in the council. We had the first reading tonight, and we'll need to have 2 more readings in order to make sure that the sign ordinance is proper and enacted. So that's the reason that we're continuing the moratorium until December the 20th.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Ham.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kistner. Any further discussion? Mr. Gray.
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Yes.
Mr. Kistner.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
Motion carried unanimous. Next item, unfinished business. There will be none. Under new business, proposed approval for work authorization number 78, Battlefield Parkway multi-use trail. Mr. Stoltz. Mr. Silcox is not here tonight.
Thank you.
Terry or Jimmy?
Thank you, Jim.
I figured your voice about to get back. This is an amendment to the work authorization. This is for the Battlefield Parkway multi-use trail from Cedar Lane past the high school and all over the schools to Old Charlie's. And the city's gotten a $500,000 T grant to do that work. And it's a grant administered by GDOT through their program manager, Moreland Out to Belly. And the first step in getting this done is you have to provide a concept report, which pretty much tells them what's existing, what you want to do, and how you're going to do it. And we've had some past experiences of T grants and working with Moreland Out to Belly, and we knew there'd be 1 or 2 revisions after we submitted it. Well, we ended up with 5 revisions, having to do it 5 times, plus they required us to have a meeting here where GDOT and Moreland Out to Belly and some of the city staff were here, and they actually took a field. We spent all day looking in the field. They were looking where we were going and everything like that. So we're just trying to recoup some of our time that we expected some revisions, but not to that extent, or we never had a meeting on site until this time. And what I did was just take the time we spent after the second revision and just recoup the time, and it came up to $5,650. So we're requesting an amendment for $5,650 to more or less recoup our time that we've already done. We have had, the concept report is approved, and we're working on the design plans, but this is just time that we had to take, that we weren't expecting. So,
Thank you.
y'all have any questions?
Thank you, Jimmy. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Ham to approve,
Second.
second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion?
Are you expecting any more, or is this finalized here?
No.
You mentioned GDOT, and I know that.
Well, no, we know that we have to submit the plans that we gotta do the same thing with the plans, but we should have enough, we were expecting that, so that's not any more than what we're expecting. Unless there's some
Do you think they will approve this?
unexpected, but I think, we don't expect any more. The plans are easier to get through than the concept report.
Thing for Mr. Gray.
No, that's all.
Anyone else? Mr. Gray.
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Yes.
Mr. Kistner.
Yes.
Mr. Smith. Motion carried unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Next item on the agenda, proposed approval for Catoosa Citizens for Literacy Agreement, Shirley Smith. Shirley here. Do you know, and Harold is not here tonight, I don't know the dollar amount that we normally do this.
It's 5,000.
$5,000.
Is it fine?
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Ham,
Second.
second by Mr. Gray. Any further discussion? Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Ham,
Yes.
Mr. Kistner,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous. Next item on the agenda, proposed approval to purchase replacement pump and motor for the West Side Pump Station. Phil Parker. Mr. Parker, you got the floor.
This is a request to replace one of the pump and motor at the pump station of West Side Drive. They're about 30 years old, and we've had one of them go down. It's going to cost somewhere around $2,600 to have it replaced, rebuilt. And we can buy a replacement for $3,180. So the rebuild doesn't include wire rings or impellers. It's just, basically seals and a motor. So we just would like to replace with a newer pump motor. We will eventually get rid of this pump station, but it's probably going to be 2 or 3 years down the road before that happens.
This is one right by the bridge where the little,
It's at the end of West Side Country Drive,
okay.
down at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
There's 3 of them over there. This is the one at the far end.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion. Second.
Who made the motion, Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith made the motion, Mr. Ham made the second. Any further discussion? Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Ham?
Yes.
Mr. Kistner?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous. Next item on the agenda, proposed approval to repair wing wall drainage ditch on Kaufman Drive. Mr. Parker?
It was brought to our attention, and we're not sure when it occurred, but it appears that a vehicle, somebody has hit the curb wing wall at the culvert on Kaufman Drive. I got with Captain McConaughey. He's researched back a year. We find no accident report. Catoosa has not dispatched anybody to an accident there, so we have no way of tracking down exactly what occurred. We did get a cost estimate to repair the wing wall for $3,460, and in addition to that, was going to hire this concrete company to repair 2 sections of sidewalk that was damaged during utility construction. One was a utility construction damage, one was a water main break.
What's the total price?
The total price is $6,820.
$5,800?
68,
68.
and it would be from J.M. Hanner Construction Company.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Ham,
Second.
second by Mr. Kistner. Any further discussion? Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Ham?
Yes.
Mr. Kistner?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Motion carried unanimous. Next item on the agenda, proposed approval for Tally Construction to perform extra work at Steel Road Pump Station. Mr. Parker?
Okay. We have right now the project going on over off of Steel Road in the area over there, building the sewer collection system, which will abandon the Brookville Pump Station. After we've got everything designed and lined up, we discovered a issue with a section of line, probably less than 100 feet, that feeds into where the station is now, that has caused us some problems in the past. And what I'm requesting is to allow Tally, it's not in their work, it's not in their scope of work, but I'm requesting to give them approval to extend or replace that section of pipe, probably less than 100 feet. And having talked to them, they thought it was probably a one-day job, so probably looking at something less than $4,500.
Okay.
Don't know exactly what the cost is going to be, but it shouldn't be, too much. But I did want to come to y'all. It may be even within what the city manager could approve, but just in case, wanted to come get approval from you all.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Kistner.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ham. Any further discussion? Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Ham?
Yes.
Mr. Kistner?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Motion carried unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Next item on the agenda, city manager. He's home sick, so he's not here, so there's no report. City council comments and business. Mr. Gray?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Mr. Ham?
Nothing.
Mr. Kistner?
Yes, I've got quite a bit. The mayor kind of touched on this briefly a little while ago about the swimming pool league, but I'd like to tell everybody I'm the councilman that caused such a fuss about the swimming pool league all summer long. I'd like for y'all to know, after I'd first taken office and I was told that the swimming pool was leaking, I wanted to know everything about it, and I was bound and determined to get it fixed. After I started looking at paperwork on the swimming pool, the first letter I ran across was this one right here, and I'd like to read it to you real quick. I won't take a lot of y'all's time. But this letter was dated April 22nd, 2011, and it says, the ongoing pool leak has been isolated to the elbow and vertical pipe of the main drain line just outside the surge tank towards the pool. A local institute formed company located with a camera after Jeff's crew hydraulically pinned it down to a point somewhere level with the bottom of the surge tank. Since this leak has never been stopped, it is still a warranted item. And after reading this letter, I just for the life of me couldn't understand why our former public works director knew that this swimming pool leak was leaking and refused to fix it. So we had a series of tests done over the summer. We've had multiple cameras put down the swimming pool. We've had push cameras, pan cameras, crawler cameras, still view cameras, wide angle view cameras, every kind of camera that they could possibly put in a pipe. Every one of them still showed this busted pipe. And I was 100% convinced that this pipe was busted open and massively leaking. And the guy that's over the the Parks and Recreations director now asked his company, is there any final test that you can do that surpasses any of these tests? And they said yes. If you completely drain the swimming pool and drain every pipe in the swimming pool, we can do a pressure test that would be the ultimate test on these pipes. And that test was conducted, and I got the results from it about 2 weeks ago. I won't read this whole entire letter here, but I'll just read the last part of it. As a pipe reeling company, we are interested in reeling and repairing lines that have problems, and in this case, a hole or breach. We intend to reline the pipes to prevent future loss of water, but our findings indicate there is no benefit of that process at this time. Our visual inspection of the pool directed us to the stress cracks appearing alongside the expansion joint. With that being said, every camera that was put down that pipe was seeing a crack that wasn't there. Our former Public Works Director, everybody knows who it is. His name's Jeff Long. He's sitting right back here in a blue shirt. Told me that all along. And I had a hard time believing it because the cameras was saying something else. But with this pressure test, given the ultimate result that this pipe is not leaking, that it's in the expansion joint where he said it was all along, I would like to deeply apologize to him. I'm sorry, Jeff, for putting you through that, and I'm sorry to the citizens of Fort Oglethorpe for thinking that this pipe was leaking when it wasn't. You know, I think maybe I tried to do too much at one time or something. I don't know, but you know, I just wanted to tell Jeff I'm sorry, and his family I'm sorry, and maybe before the season gets started up, this expansion joint could get fixed, and we'll get right along with the pool. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kistner. Mr. Smith.
Yep, I made some comments about the bill because that was the assumption I had. Yeah, and of course I don't know anything about plumbing or that swimming pool, but mine was the cost, because if it was losing that much water, that's a lot of money. And turned out you're right. I hated all that come about, but you know, it was thrown out there to us, so you know, I hate that I even said anything about it now that I know, but I didn't know until this right here. That's all I got.
Can I reiterate something, please?
Yes, sir.
You know, I was talking to somebody today, and they asked me, they said, you know, if you had won the election, would you have still apologized to Jeff after you found this? And, you know, I told him absolutely. You know, I was wrong. I give the information that I had that was false, so I gave false information. So, you know, I feel like I owed him an apology. Jeff was there when the pool was built. The pool's been his baby for many years, and I feel like that swimming pool's a part of him. And I feel like whenever I was talking about the swimming pool, I was talking about something very close and deep to him. And, you know, something else they had mentioned to me too. They said, you know, even though the election went the way it did, it's still going to take this city years and years to get over this. And, you know, I told them it don't have to be that way. It don't have to take years to get over this. We could get over this in weeks. This is you know, life is short, and this is a small town. Sometimes if we could just have some of the people in this town to sit back and think about some of the things they've done and some of the things that they said, and just simply say, I was wrong and I was sorry, we could start a healing process a whole lot faster than years and years. We can start it immediately, and we desperately need that. This town needs to come back together. This is a small town. It's beautiful, and I'm proud of it. And I'm tired of all the animosity and hatred that's going on around here. It's time to get this town back together. And that's all I have this time.
Mr. Crawford made a statement in the newspaper on an interview, and I called him and I complimented him on this statement. He said a lot of what you said. It's time for the healing process to begin. And it is. I mean, we're a city of 9,200 people, 9,300 something thereabout. We got one more today because Mr. Crawford had another son today. So congratulations, Craig. And but if everybody just kind of stop and they look up, you're going to see crow feathers flying around here. Jeff, we're all going to eat a lot of crow tonight. So, and you've got a lot of apologies tonight. There's, you know, and I called you last night and talked about this. So it's time to move on. Citizens petitions. Mr. Cooper, proposed city charter.
Decisions were made that led to the events of March the 22nd. The result of those decisions caused an outcry, an overwhelming outcry from our citizens, an outcry that wouldn't be stifled, wouldn't die down, and wouldn't go away. As a result of the events of March the 22nd, the legislature formed a charter review committee to undertake a study of the conditions, needs, issues, and problems, and recommend any action or legislation which the committee deems necessary or appropriate. Shortly thereafter, the mayor formed a second charter review committee to review and revise the charter if needed. Both committees began the arduous task at hand. Both committees were dedicated to their task, and both committees have produced revised charters. I'd like to take a moment and discuss the proposed charter revision put forth by the Mayor's Committee that was introduced under ordinance tonight. None of my words are to be interpreted as questioning, evaluating, or drawing conclusions regarding any member of that committee. My remarks are directed at the charter revision and centers around its content only. I'm going to ask some questions, point out some things. The questions don't require answers, and close with an admonition. My first question concerns Article 2, Government Structure. The current charter states that the legislative authority of the government of this city shall be vested in a city council to be composed of a mayor and 5 council members. The proposed charter revision describes the city council creation, number, election as follows. The legislative authority of this government of this city shall be vested in a city council to be composed of 5 members. The mayor is not considered a member of the city council. This becomes problematic when compared to section 2.10 of the charter, which reads, the mayor shall preside at all meetings of the city council and shall have the right to take part in deliberations, but shall not vote on any question except in case of a tie. If the mayor is not a member of the city council, which is defined as the legislative body of the city, then how can the mayor vote on any legislative issue? Section 2.33, council interference with the administration. The addition of the sentence, the city council shall manage the affairs of appointed officers, causes the council to encroach upon the duties of the city manager, which will create chaos and confusion. Compare this with 2.32, powers and duties of the city manager, who is charged with managing the affairs of the appointed officers. Again, it's unclear where the lines of authority and duties are set and produces potential confusion regarding who oversees who. Revised section 3.15 states, all employees serve at will and may be removed from office at any time. The revised section removed the words unless otherwise provided by ordinance, which effectively removes the property rights of employees defined at Chapter 6, Section 1 of Personnel Ordinance 2004-09. Section 5.16, removal of officers. Remove the clause that is found in the Georgia Model Charter as well as other cities across the state, which reads, by order of the Superior Court, the venue determined depending upon the place of residency of the officer following a hearing on a complaint seeking such removal brought by any resident of the city of Fort Oglethorpe. Removal of this section takes away the right of a citizen to redress its government, which is guaranteed by the Georgia Constitution and codified at OCGA 45-11-4, which states a public officer may be charged under this code section for malpractice, misfeasance, or malfeasance in office, or 2, using oppression or tyrannical partiality in the administration or under the color of his or her office. And C says a conviction for violating subsection B of this code section shall be punished for as a misdemeanor, and upon conviction in a court of competent jurisdiction, the accused shall be removed from office. Removing this right could be construed as the removal of a city resident's civil rights and could prompt a legal challenge by any citizen to have it reinserted into the charter. There are typographical errors, references to sections of the charter that are incorrect, and duplicated sections such as section 2.10 and section 2.34, which deals with the duties of the mayor. There are other problems with the revised charter that I will not address at this time due to the constraints on my time limit. The Official Code of Georgia 36-35-6 limits on home rule powers clearly states the power granted to municipal corporations shall not be construed to extend to charter revisions that affect the composition and form of the municipal governing authority. Changing the charter to remove the mayor from the legislative authority of the government fundamentally changes composition. It reduces the number of potential voting members from 6 to 5, and form from a council-manager form of government to that of a strong mayor-council form of government. Finally, the public apology that I just heard, and I applaud that public apology. It takes a lot of strength and character to do what the council member did. And it causes me to maintain hope that the wounds caused by the events of March the 22nd, as well as the strong mandate put forth by the voters of Fort Oglethorpe on November the 5th, will result in progress towards healing our city and restoring the voters' confidence in its government. A functional, legal, and ethical-based charter is crucial to that end. Now, in conclusion, if we could all adopt the admonition of the words I'm going to read, our city's problems would certainly be minimized and manageable.
You're in your 6th minute now, Mr. Cook.
Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
Can I say something on that?
Yes, sir, Mr.
I'll agree
Green.
with you, Mr. Cooper, on that verse from the Word of God. And I'd say that would do a lot for the city if they would do it. But the voters wanted the preacher out of here. And December 31st, I'll be out of here. And the Word of God will be out of here.
Ms. Walker. Arlene Walker.
Just briefly, I have, most of mine is just handing out some
Please
information.
state your name for the record.
Arlene Walker.
Okay.
I'd like to just touch on the code of ethics and the principles of conduct, of integrity and ethics. And integrity matters in every decision that we make, and every move that we make, we should consider what is the possible outcome. Who could this hurt? Who could this help? What actions result, or in if there's any harm, Which actions provide the most help? Are there any actions that are illegal? Are there any actions that are ethical? And can they be used against me in the court of law? And the reason why I'm here tonight, I'd like to hand out these to you if I may.
It's not a subpoena, is it?
I didn't get to see you.
Thank you, ma'am.
There is a case that has been filed against me. If you can read on page 1, it is because that it was determined that I neglected to comply with the laws and withheld information from voters, therefore breaking the law of the ethics of the state of Georgia. If you can see on that letter, some of you are mentioned. My proof is, as it always has stand, and where I have also publicly announced numerous times, my evidence is right here. And if you will look on pages 3, the other members, some of the councilmen that were mentioned in this case are also listed. Page 4, if you look in the right section where it says, mine were received on 9/6 and so forth. So I just wanted to come here tonight and let you all know that I feel that I have represented the city well in what I did. I did so honestly and with integrity. I have some news and information from the Atlanta Ethics Committee on what the people could do that are listed in the letter if they choose to do so. And so, because it was a partial report that was handed in and not a full report, that's why you have pages 8 through 11. So that's all that I have to say. I will be keeping you up to date how the outcome of this is and what the decisions are made going forth.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that, please?
Yes, you can.
Evidently what Miss Walker's trying to say here is a lot of us has been late on our campaign contributions, but only a certain few of us was singled out during the campaign. But I would like for everybody to know my campaign contributions have been taken care of as well. Mine were late. Evidently, a lot of ours has been late. It's, as I was talking to Elizabeth down at the Ethics Commission, she says 95% of everybody that runs for office has a late or some type of fine from the campaign contribution committee. But mine has definitely been taken care of. If you'd like to review mine, you can go down to Atlanta and pick up a copy of it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Kistner. I was mentioned in this too, and I'm not even a doggone candidate. I mean, but so to be, I'm not going to, whatever. Next item, next person, citizen Larry Reed, budget for 2014 and stewardship of funds. Mr. Reed, you have the floor.
Larry Reed, live in Tunnel Hill, Georgia, Whitfield County. I'm not a voter here, but I own $4 million worth of property, represent $4 million worth of property and apartments, 250 to 300 residents. We pay collectively annually $60,000 or so in water and sewer bills and 40,000 in property taxes, so I have a large stake in this.
We thank you.
I'm sorry?
I said, we thank you for your tax dollars.
I'm glad to be able to pay it. The question I had on the budget, and I didn't realize it was going to be a public hearing tonight, so some of my questions, I guess, should have been addressed before the budget was adopted. But the questions I had after looking through the line item review, and I've got a background in financial management, that's my career, and the questions I asked, Mr. Silcock's not here, so I'm not sure who can answer it, but what percentage of increase was included for payroll, property and GL insurance, workers' comp, and health insurance? And probably none of you know the numbers on that. If you do, I'll be happy to take it. So, but there had to be some number put in for the budget planning over the prior year. Is answer to that?
I can't remember each line item in the budget. The budget it's on record there. You're welcome to.
Well, I've got a copy of the budget. It's hard to look at the line item and see that, but there had to be an overall percent increase factored into each line item.
So, I mean, that's something you probably need to discuss with Mr. Silcox.
Okay. Expenditures is another, and I had a question on elections. In 2013, there's $28,000 in the budget. There's $13,002 for 2014. And the question I had is, which elections are they going to be in 2014? Had to be some basis for that number. And secondly, is it possible to contract with Catoosa County for the elections and eliminate the separate election superintendent position for the city?
I can give you an answer on that.
Okay.
City of Fort Oglethorpe comprises citizens of 2 counties.
I had forgotten that, so go ahead.
So the reason being that we must have an election superintendent, we must take care of the elections, and in fact, the intent is to move all elections here at City Hall and not do them at Constitution Hall. But we cannot give it up to Catoosa County because we got Walker County citizens. Can't give it up to Walker County because we got Catoosa County citizens. Does that answer your question?
That answers the question. Whitfield County handles the election for all the 3 municipalities, and they're all in one county. So
Yeah.
I realize that's
But we got 2.
that's a unique situation.
And we did try what you talked about.
Well, I forgot about that. So, on legal costs, the city attorney's fees was $77,000 for 13. It's been decreased at $62,000 for 2014. What is the basis of the fee arrangement for the city attorney? Is it per hour spent, or is it a flat rate, or do you know the answer to that?
City attorney is paid a flat rate, and basically, I think he probably took a little cut in pay.
Okay. Personal attorney fees, $102,500 for 13 and $102,000 for 2014. That seems low considering all of the legal matters and cases have been filed still yet to be heard. Is that enough money in the budget for that?
That's an answer I can't give you. So,
Well,
you know,
I
that's a
would project it.
contingency that nobody knows. I think if you will look at the City of Fort Oglethorpe's budget, the amount of expenditures that we have on legal fees, and if you will also research the amount of monies that Catoosa County expends on legal fees, and I'm a little bit familiar with the legal system in Catoosa County, since I was there when Mr. Patty was hired originally, 20-something years ago. But we're paying just a small fraction of what the Catoosa County government pays for legal fees. So we're really getting a bargain.
Well, the part I was addressing is the legal fees for the personal defense of the individuals on the council and the mayor. That's the part I was addressing, not the city attorney.
I don't know what you're.
Well, it's a separate line item in the budget. It's for the estimated cost for the defense of the council and the mayor through these various lawsuits that have been filed. It's separate from the attorney fees for the city attorney.
You still lost me, Mr. Ray.
Well, I'm just asking, is that enough money in the budget to cover what's anticipated to carry through all these lawsuits that have been filed?
That's a contingency. I can't, and nobody knows what's going to happen, so nobody knows. There's no answer.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying I think it's a low number, so
Okay.
I'll just go on record to that. Council filming is $1,200 for 13 and $10,000 for 2014. I think you mentioned that in one of the earlier meetings. Is that to put the filming of the council meetings on the local TV station? Is that what that's for?
We video our own TV. We
Okay.
have our own employees.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that the number that's covered?
Now, what?
Well, it's $1,200 in the budget last year. It's $10,000 this year. It's not a big difference, but is that what it covers?
I do not have an explanation for every line item in a budget that's
Okay.
$14 million, nor would I think you on your, could you know every line item on your apartment complex?
I know every line item, but that's...
So you're smarter than I.
One other item, a Civil War cannon purchase, $7,000. I thought the war was over. What is the intent of that, and where is it going to be installed?
The cannon would be placed as you come into the city of Fort Oglethorpe at a beautiful sign that welcomes you to the city of Fort Oglethorpe. And along that sign would also be placed the flags of the 21 states that fought in the Battle of Chickamauga, which is it's an eye catcher. And what we do as a city, and the city is a business. You're a business person. Advertising and businesses do things to create something that generates interest and will get an individual that's a tourist, and a huge amount of our traffic in our city is tourist traffic. A huge amount of the monies that pay our budget, that reduce your taxes on your apartment complex, is generated by people that live outside our city.
I agree.
Every time you spend money here, you live in Whitfield County, Lord, I just kind of smile and I say, thank you for his dollars. You reduced my property tax on my house. And 60-70% of the monies that are generated in sales tax in this city is generated by people that live outside the corporate limits of this city of Fort Oglethorpe.
Same thing in Whitfield County.
And we probably generate a larger percentage than y'all do, though, because we're the hub of North Georgia, and everybody that goes to Chickamauga Battlefield comes either down Battlefield Parkway and hangs a left, or down 27. And the 21 flags, it's an eye catcher.
What is considered the entrance to Fort Oglethorpe? Is it 27 and Battlefield Parkway?
Do what?
I said, what is considered the entrance? Is it the intersection of 27 and Battlefield Parkway? Is that what the sign is?
The sign is, if you've never, and I know you don't live here, but you pay taxes here. When you leave here, if you go up here and hang a left and go down to the traffic light at Highway 27.
It's crossing the
Battlefield
Walmart,
Parkway.
Kmart, crossing the Kmart you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, that sign right there.
Okay.
There will be 21 flags there. There'll be a cannon there, and there'll be a rail around that encloses that cannon. There'll be cannonballs, and we had some on top of the sign, and some little vandal removed. But they are going to be replaced.
Okay. All right.
So, and it's going to be an eye catcher, and somebody from Wisconsin that's got a pocket full of doggone money that comes diddy-bopping down Highway 27, their kids are going to say, Mama, what are those 21 flags? They're going to slow down, and they could pull into Kmart, and they could spend money and reduce your taxes on your apartment complex.
Sounds good. I agree. Okay. In the budget, there's a new shop, $292,000. I was thinking in 2012, or 11 rather, maybe it was in 11, there was a shop built and there was $85,000 worth of equipment bought to fit it out. Was that not, am I wrong on that?
Maybe you and our city manager is not here tonight.
I understand,
He's sick. He's got the crud, and I guarantee you, the way he looked today, he would much rather be here tonight than being at home.
And better him than us.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I saw him this morning, and I hope he didn't breathe my way.
I hear you. Okay, well, I'll call him and ask him. But I was thinking there was something in 2011 that I was not sure why there was another one being put in.
Well, and equipment does wear out.
Okay.
Equipment's like cars, they wear out.
Yeah. Stewardship of funds, how many more meetings is the council going to have before the end of the year?
We will have a meeting on December the 9th.
Okay.
It's the last regular scheduled meeting. We had a meeting scheduled for the 25th. I'm having eye surgery on my right eye the 25th. That's why we're having this meeting tonight.
That was 25th of November.
And Do what?
It'd be the 25th of November, you're saying?
November.
Okay.
And that's the one that was scheduled. We moved it back to
Tonight,
here.
okay.
Because I'm going to be out with surgery. We'll have a meeting, the first regular scheduled meeting in December is December the 9th. We must complete the third and final reading on the sign ordinance. So if you apply for a sign for your apartment complex, that we got an ordinance in place. And that will be on the 17th. Am I correct, Mr. Schultz?
Yes, sir.
So there will be this meeting, one other meeting, and then the meeting of December 17th. And then we're out for the holidays.
Okay. Well, the only thing I was asking, in the regard to stewardship funds, are there going to be any planned major expenditures between now and the end of the year, other than what's in the budget?
I certainly hope not.
Well, I've just, if there is.
I certainly hope
If
not.
there is, I would say, ask it to be postponed.
I hope my
So-
wife doesn't go shopping either, but she might.
Yeah, you can forget that. Several people asked me about the police chief. They says he's missing and nobody's seen him. Is he still
He
in?
had a class this week. He was in a class all week this week. He will take, it's my understanding, take another class next week.
Okay.
So anyway,
So who's acting chief in his absence?
the deputy chief who is out sick, he had surgery this week.
Okay.
And
Well, it goes down the rank then. I
it
guess.
does.
Is Red acting chief now?
You got a chief, you got a deputy chief, and you got a captain. And Mr. McConaughey he's the third one down the pipe now. And in fact, we met this morning. Gary should be back. Jackie Hollander should be back Monday.
Okay.
So he had surgery.
I thought maybe Red was the backup down the line, but he don't want it.
I've done my 30 years.
So
A couple of final comments.
Okay.
And
anything
heard what
further?
Mr.
And we're in about way past your 5 minutes. In fact, about
Well, we've
3
had
times.
dialogue discussion, so you've.
Yeah, it is. So I'll take part of that.
Okay.
5 minutes.
Well, in a prior meeting, you told me that you're a big boy, you can take the heat, and I hate to keep bringing this up, but you said, bring it on. And I took that as a challenge, and I think I've done that. In a press conference prior to the November 5th election, you said if people aren't satisfied with the current mayor and council, vote them out. I think they've taken the challenge on that. The people accepted that, and a landslide victory. They weren't satisfied with your leadership and 2 council members, so they took their city back. In November 6th meeting, you said the election is over. It's time to make peace with the citizens. You further stated, today is the first day of the rest of our lives, and it's time to move on. As I said before, the motto of Ted Turner, and you challenged me for saying that, was lead, follow, or get I said the heck out of the way here, okay? And the citizens of Fort Oglethorpe no longer respect you as a leader, so you and Mr. Smith should resign and get out of the way. You've lost control. So I'll close at that. So you can take it for what it's worth. So
Have a good Christmas.
you too. I'll see you before then. So thanks.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. This meeting is adjourned.